So, welcome. My name is Chris Revelle. This is a show presented by the Thearchetype Gallery, and I thought I'd just walk you through some of the work in the show, talk about it a little bit, and help you kind of understand the work a little bit better if you can or can't be here. So, when you first walk in, you're presented with a series of silhouette targets. The title of this work is Kingdoms Rise and Wane. This was in response to a report that came out in the beginning of 2010 that was talking about U.S. soldiers using scopes in both Afghanistan and Iraq that had a reference to biblical codes or biblical verses within the serial numbers. And so despite having a ban on any kind of proselytizing or pushing religious views while in these countries, these scopes were making direct relationships to verses speaking about Christianity and or Jesus Christ as being the light of the world. And so this goes back to the beginning of the American century. This goes back to Woodrow Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson, and his claim that the only way to save the Philippines was to Christianize them. And this is just a continuation of those things. Through other means, through a private company, Trigicon, based out of Michigan, but also a moral and ethical conflict about Christianity being the light of life while looking through a scope of a rifle. And so there's a total of 8 pieces, all dealing with the verses of their scopes. The next piece is a series of newspaper prints entitled Cause Effect. This directly deals with the media in the US. It deals with the building up of news corporations. It deals with advertisement and sponsorship of journalism. But not just within newspapers itself, but also with online internet content, with television, and just the context that we get our news, our information from. Being surrounded by advertisement, being surrounded by sponsorship, and where does that money come from? Where do the funds come from? Or how do we see news in the context of materialism? Does the harsh reality of the effects that we have on the countries that we are at war with really come through in the news and the media, surrounded by advertisements, surrounded by conflicting point of views? Or are we even receiving all of that information? Or is it being corrupted by these companies? Is it being corrupted by the need for advertisement? And the balance of views, the criticality of news, is what is needed for a strong democracy. But yet that is what we're lacking. We're lacking that information, the balance of views, where we feel like we're getting a view of the left and the right, but what we're presented with is a view that is more right and more moderate right, and nothing to the center or left of center. To the point where news is reduced to images, headlines, and nothing else. The content is removed. The background is removed. The history of that story is removed. And so what we are left with is only the now, the immediate. The piece that we're looking at now is entitled Fallout. It's a series of photographs manipulated. These photographs were originally found at the site of the Saddam Hussein International Center. They're dated pre-2003. And the Saddam International Center was a place for celebration. It was a place for couples, for anniversaries, for families and reunions, as well as children. I have manipulated those to show the dramatic change that has happened after the 2003 invasion of Iraq, to show that as war goes on, the effects of war are very dramatic to the families. And as U.S. and coalition forces occupied Iraq, there was major sweeps throughout many of the cities. These sweeps, these house raids, went in and basically picked up males of fighting age, meaning anyone from 15 to 55. These males were picked up, taken to prisons, put through harsh conditions, interrogations. Their families were not told where they were. And so the reason for the title being Fallout is because this is the psychological damage that the effects of war have. Because innocent civilians are always hurt. They are not just collateral damage. They are affected dramatically by those situations. Not only them, but their families as well. The husbands, the brothers, the sons, of course, are affected. But also the children, the sisters, the wives, the mothers. And then, of course, the bag being the very icon of the war on terror. And so, as you move on, we come to some wall text. Now, as I was creating the show, a lot was going on in the Middle East, the Arab world, what is now known as the Arab uprising. And so I was thinking about all this. This show is very much developed off of the economics of American capitalism, American war, and what all of that produces, the civil and human right abuses that take place in the name of economic development. Okay, everything is connected, and so it was hard at this point to really know what was going to happen with these revolutions. So the title of this piece is actually Revolution, comma, a rotation. So unsure of where those revolutions were going to go, both in Tunisia and Egypt, which have already seen the removal of the old guard, but also what is going to happen in places like Libya, Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. You know, some of these countries are not even being reported on, okay? Where Libya and Syria are in the headline news. Okay, why is that so? Why is Bahrain not being mentioned? Is it because of the Fifth Fleet being there? So yet we don't know what's going to happen. Are these revolutions going to be manipulated? What is the end result of these? And so this wall piece is directly in relationship to saying, I am aware of these things, this has very much an important part to deal with, but also that I am unsure, and we are unsure, the world is unsure of where these are going to go. And so just like a legal document or a Department of Defense document, there are pages that are left blank to let you know they are intentionally left blank. That says this page is left intentionally blank, this space is left intentionally blank. The next piece we come upon is called Primer. This is a series of wax crayons molded in the shape of bullets. Originally, when I proposed my show here, it was going to be of work of Palestinian children who were still in the West Bank in the city of Hebron. Now,